5:08 a.m., February 17, out here on the west coast on the edge of the above water part of the continent. It's been raining overnight. We've got another 3/4 of an inch, but it's a nice calm day relatively so far. Today I wanted to talk about something that's not so calm, and we'll be getting into it over these next 4 years, maybe 5 years. It'll emerge. So in about 5 years' time, we're going to have you'll be able to look back and you will be able to see that we've had a major Christian revival globally. But that's going to be really odd because it's going to destroy a lot of the churches, and it's going to be a new type of Christianity, not this Christ consciousness crap that the New Age is pumping out, but something else entirely different. That's going to also be competing with a new religion. Okay, the new religion will be based on the ontological paradigm. It's my understanding here from what I'm seeing in the language that people will take the ontological paradigm, which is just that. It's just a way of thinking about the universe. It doesn't involve worship or any of that kind of stuff, right? In that sense, the ontological paradigm is like a scientific paradigm, right? Exactly equivalent. There need not be any emotionality into it because it's a very practical thing. Go read Japanese yoga, Shinshin Soitsudo. It's a technique. It's a technology. And that's what I want to talk about today, too, is psychic technology. Anyway, though, so about 5 years' time, you'll be able to look back through these very chaotic years and see that there's been a major Christian revival, the development of this new religion, that will be taken from the ontological paradigm. I don't know what people are going to call it. I don't know how it'll be organized. That's not clear at this stage. It'll just arise. But in the midst of all of this, we're going to get into what I'm calling psytech, right? Like psychic technology. And you can easily explain the whole psychic layer, the observer effect, everything that the gritology, everything that the Pharisee Elohim worship cult, Jewish physics, all of that, their whole science, everything that they deny exists can easily be explained and is almost out there on its face just by the very nature of the ontological paradigm. So if you've got the ontological paradigm, if you've got the ontological view, then all of these things are practical. They're there. You can use them. It's easy to understand. You see it work. You know how it works and so on. It's not a goofy thing that is relegated out to something that they label as the observer effect and never explain, right? So if you have the ontological paradigm, you understand why 90% of all of the money that goes into building a quantum computer goes into building the shielding to keep it from being affected by consciousness. And all of these things and actually you can figure out a lot of easier ways to do it without putting all that money in there. In that way, you don't have to have the shielding, you don't have to have mass in order to shield the things. The people are quite stupid in that approach. In any event, though, so we're going to get into psytech. We're talking about being out 5 years in the future and looking back on us now. So in 2030, you'll be able to look back and see that over these past 5 years, there's been a new form of Christianity that emerged and that probably basically destroyed the existing forms of Protestantism and Catholic. There will still be remnants, they'll still be hanging around. Just like we have druids running around now, that kind of thing, right? It's not a major movement, but it's there. Okay, so these will be relegated to also ran ancient history kind of fake religion, because it'll come out how much of it was engineered and controlled by the various councils of rabbis. Okay, so those will go by the wayside, but this new form will arise. We don't know a lot about it. There are certain aspects that are visible to it, but it has a tendency, just like this new religion that will develop from the ontological paradigm, it has a tendency to support aspects of psytech that the current gritology view does not. And this is going to be key, in my opinion, to those two religious forms progressing against the older staid form of religions because of the emergence of psytech. Now, SciTech is ongoing right now. So if you know how to read things, you can see that there are moves, that there's employment, recruiting kind of things going on now, deliberately seeking personalities that have a tendency to harbor or foster within that person the ability to tap into psychic powers. Okay, and it's not psychic powers per se. The best way to think of it in my viewpoint that makes it very much more practical is to consider that it is a frequency, a layer in our common shared reality that binds all of the consciousness at this particular substrate. So that layer can be, if you tune your mind, you can tune your mind to that layer. All right, it's not like you suddenly get the ability to lift cars with one hand or anything like that, right? It's not a superpower. It's just that there's this natural thing out there, and you can use it if you figure it out. So it would, in a sense, it's like everybody's walking around with their eyes closed, using little sticks to navigate, and we're all sort of happy with the world. And then one day you discover you can open up your eyes, and there's all this thing called vision and sight. It's always been there, and it's not spooky. It's not, magic or anything along those lines. When people apply those kind of terms to it, it basically tells you that they do not understand what they are dealing with. They can't explain it. So the shoving aside of all of the woo stuff by the Gritology tells you that they don't understand it, they have no ability to incorporate it in their paradigm, or in the case of the Pharisee-controlled education institutions, they do not want you to think about it, especially in particular ways. Anyway, so as I'm saying, I think I see in specific kinds of recruiting, and also weird kind of recruiting that goes on the Tor network, on the dark web. The language really seems to be suggesting that there is corporations out there that are actively seeking people with psychic abilities. And they're doing it in kind of a sneaky way, okay, because they're actually hunting for specific personality types. And if you look into these personality types, one of the common threads that AI is easily able to pick out is that such individuals would have a tendency towards a higher psychic ability or a sense of that psychic layer, the ability to tap into it. It is true that all of the movies are factual in reporting that abuse, brutality, torture, all this kind of shit on specific kinds of personalities boost that psychic layer, right? And that's why you have all of the movies that are as they are, showing these people having these kind of abilities after these sorts of experiences. There are other ways to get to this psychic ability, this psychic layer, this understanding of it, that don't involve destroying yourself or fracturing your mind. This is just the crude way that the Gritologists have been trying to take advantage of this technology, this SciTech, right? And so we can think of SciTech as operating right now, and we have examples of it, like Dick Allgire's Future Forecasting Group, right? And that's SciTech. And they use this psychic layer to peer into the event stream. They're not seeing the future, they're seeing the manifesting event stream. And then they're pulling information out of that ahead of the manifestation of that, whatever it is that they see. And that's at a psychic level. And this is technology. These people use it. It's like driving a car, right? I mean, it's sort of like driving a car to them. You can get in a car and drive it to the store, and a month later you can do the same. Well, that's the way these guys do it. They just treat it as a technology. This has been ongoing since the 50s and 60s in Russia and the former Eastern Bloc republics, and they have a great base of understanding for this, and they have structures in their language that tend to allow psychics to express themselves and basically be recognized within their power structure. So it's somewhat more integrated in Russia than we see it here. And so the current power structure that we have now is going to hit a really rough wall very, very quickly. And this is why I bring this up. I'm going to have to do a lot of discussion about SciTech because it is so widespread in its applications and in its forms. But one of the things that the power structure is going to hit, and has already hit, is the idea that there's no longer any secrets. That if you have the appropriate psychic agent, human or augmented human, and you aim them at a particular point in the event stream, which we might think of as past, but it's not. There is no past and there is no future. It's this eternal now. And you can get into why this affects the event stream and how it is possible to pull stuff out of the event stream ahead of its manifestation and to track it in that event stream in its spreading effects on other event streams, right? Because it's still ongoing in a sense in this eternal now. Anyway, so the government's has run into this wall, the military guys. I don't know if like the doggy fellows are going to discover it. I don't know if it'll go up to that level or if it's going to be retained as an issue in these lower levels of dark project management stuff. But these guys are going to start sweating it because they're going to become aware of projects that show really finely tuned ability with this sci-tech. So basically, there are no more secrets. If someone really wanted to know what you were saying in that conversation, they could arrange a psychic tool, an agent, and discover that in great detail. They're not going to get a snapshot of it that they can look at as an image. In this case, they're going to get either a drawing by someone as a skilled artist, so like Dick Allgaier is very skilled at doing these drawings that are symbolic, representational, factual, and temporally cohesive, and very understandable by humans, right? It's just a good way of getting across, but not all the psychics are that way. Many of them will just be linguistically based. They will just spew out these vast quantities of descriptions about whatever the hell you're looking at because they don't really know what you're after, so they just set their mind to that part of the event stream and they describe that is coming into their mind. This is going to be more common than the Dick Allgaier kind of skilled artist approach, but there will be both in this range of, they're not psychic spies, okay? They're more like guys with the metal detectors that go out and hunt for stuff in the sand. You know, these people are just basically hunting through the event stream to pick out what you want. And this is going to start becoming a burgeoning technology. So here's my point on this. I got to get off of this and do some real work. I'm still working on my book here. As we see AI displacing individuals from their roles that used to earn them money, doing what we might think of as menial tasks, right? All different kinds of stuff. But as people get displaced by AI in this process, the emerging thing that will bring them back into a productive fold here is going to be sci-tech in lots of ways, because we're also going to have like group sci-tech where there will be groups that are effectively attempting to in some way impact or extract information from the event streams within the eternal now, because these guys will get this ontological paradigm approach and they will understand, the corporations will, because they're motivated to do this, much more so than government, right? And some of the corporations doing it now actively are the cartels. There's a lot of rumors about the cartels hunting out psychic people in South America, and they're being collected in 2 areas in Mexico in large groups. Large, I mean 10 and 15 at a time, right? I don't know what they're doing. I don't know the nature of it. These are just some of the hints in the language and rumors. But in any event, there are regular corporations, registered corporation kind of things, probably having shares owned by BlackRock, that sort of thing, as well as Department of Defense subcontractors and deep subcontractors that are all hunting psychics at the moment. And they have various different ways of doing this. Anyway, so it's my understanding that a lot of people are going to go into sci-tech that are now or will be in the reasonably close time period. Like say they'll be displaced 2 years from now because their job will be eliminated by some form of, or that role will be eliminated by some form of AI and a device, right? Automated cabs or whatever the hell it is. These individuals will then be drawn back in to the productive part of the society, because many will discover an ontological paradigm that explains things to them so they won't have mental blocks against their own innate abilities. And we're also going to discover that this is, as has already been identified, by the corporations, and they're already doing it. Okay, so if you know how to look at recruitment processes, you will find that there are some corporations that favor hiring certain kinds of Irish people. All right. Because of the psychic ability, because they want them there in that capacity, and there is a genetic line that goes through the Irish that has this ability. And they have all of these qualifiers, and I won't go into the details, but it was quite fascinating to me to get some of these some of the recruitment material, and to see how much they are indeed tuning in on those things that actually have a tendency to make someone more effectively psychic, because everybody is psychic. Anyway, this is part of the sci-fi world, the sci-tech. It's already existent now, and it's going to take huge leaps as we get into the ontological paradigm and zero-point technology is released. This is because a lot of zero-point technology operates at a layer within our common shared reality that's very much closer to what we would think of as consciousness, the underlying base I suppose, technology or frequency that allows the materium in which we are to exist. So it's going to be quite fascinating, and the social changes in 5 years, you won't even think about it from 5 years from now. You won't, most people hearing what I'm saying now won't bother to look back, nor will they really bother to pay attention to the broader themes in which they find their lives involved. But it will be because they're going to be so sucked in to what's actually going on and so participatory, they'll just be caught up in the moment, and so they'll miss the broader perspective. But this is that point in sci-fi world where we get these new technologies based on human ability, right? Anyway, sorry for the length. I got to do a couple more on this because it's quite fascinating, and there's many ramifications and little side cul-de-sacs that are quite interesting as well. Take care, and keep your spidey senses up.